This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, desperately looking for help. A terrified woman makes an unsuccessful attempt to escape her attacker.
Oh my God! He stabbed her! He stabbed her!
And cops move in to stop the bloodshed.
Drop the knife. Don't make me do this.
Then, a night of song and dance turns deadly.
Her face was turning purple. She was completely lifeless.
On Rescue 911.
On a long summer evening, the quiet town of Wolcott, Connecticut usually seems even more peaceful. But shortly after 8 o'clock on July 3rd, 1992, all that changed for Kathy Hubeny, when she found herself facing a very difficult decision, never imagining that the choice she made would be a matter of life or death. This story may be too intense for some viewers.
I was home with my two boys, and they had two of their friends over. I had just plugged in a movie for them to watch, so they're happy. They're very happy, having their buddies, you know, spend the night.
An emergency.
Hi, I have a girl outside my house, and she wants me to call the police. Please help me!
Do you know what the problem is?
I have no idea. She's saying that somebody attacked her.
You don't know who she is at all?
I have no idea.
What's your...
You hear her?
Okay, hold on a second, honey. Headquarters.
Wolcott Police Dispatcher Janine Valletta took the call.
I radioed to my lieutenant and my two officers that were closest in the area. And then I just kept listening to see if we could find out what was wrong, what was her problem, why was she screaming, why was she so upset.
When we continue.
She was really hysterical. I had 4 children to worry about, so I was scared of letting her in. She was really hysterical. I had 4 children to worry about, so I was scared of letting her in.
I think it's a boyfriend-girlfriend fight.
Possible signal 1 between boyfriend and girlfriend. We're trying to figure it out.
Come on, go in the other room.
I know you, but I didn't know who this was. Please don't!
It's me.
Please don't!
Who is it?
Sit down.
Hang up the phone. Let's go home. Go home.
Kathy?
Yes.
Who is it, hon?
It's a friend, a neighbor's friend. I know who the person is. I didn't know who this girl is.
Who's the neighbor?
I had met him at a picnic, and I spent time talking with him, and he was a very nice fellow. I figured this must be his girlfriend, and they must have had a fight.
Tell me nothing.
He was calm, and she was hysterical. The whole situation was just confusing to me.
Are you home alone?
I have 4 children here.
Oh, great.
Please calm down. Call the police.
Tell her that they're on the way.
She says, they're coming. Sit down. Sit down. Yes, they're coming.
Where's the children?
Get out of here. They're standing right there.
Oh, God, some poor kids.
Come on, go in the other room.
I figured it was a domestic dispute, but you know, that bothered me a lot, knowing that these little kids were looking at it.
Help me. Scott, 1, 2, I don't know.
Yeah, have your neighbor go back to his house.
Yeah. Scott, why don't you go? Scott, please.
Did you call the cops?
Please, just go home.
Did you call the cops?
She told me to. I had to.
Thanks.
Scott. Scott. Hey, oh, my God.
What's the matter, honey?
He's stabbing her.
3, 4, and 5. This is a stabbing at 25 regarding the neighbor and his girlfriend. Okay, honey.
her cheek was cut wide open. She had blood all on her hands, all around her neck. And she just walked towards me, and she says, I told you he was going to hurt me.
Kathy, I'm back. Where was she stabbed?
Oh, she's all over her body. She's bleeding. I'm shaking.
Okay, Kathy. Kathy.
All right, sit down, please.
Kathy, tell me his name.
I know his first name is Scott. Please hurry up. She's cut up so badly.
Okay, honey, they're on the way, but I need to get this information.
No, you're not.
The party that did the stabbing is a neighbor next door. All I got is his first name is Scott so far.
Lieutenant Don Thurkelson was first to arrive on the scene.
I can't believe somebody died.
Tell her the ambulance is on the way.
Look at she's. Please don't let me die.
I could hear Kathy talking to Lieutenant Thurkelson.
Okay, honey. I'm going to let you go, okay?
Okay.
All right.
You think, oh, the call is over. The girl's going to get help. This is the end. I can go and get a cup of coffee. And then the call comes back, and there's still more.
The victim was bleeding quite profusely from her neck. So at that point, I went back to the trunk of the cruiser to retrieve the first aid kit.
There he is! There he is!
Drop the knife. Drop the knife. I backed up, hoping to get more time to stop and to realize what he was doing and so forth, but it didn't do any good.
I already slipped my wrists.
I watched as he walked down the driveway. He never looked at the two of us. He just had his eyes focused on the police officer.
His eyes were just wild. I don't think anybody could have talked any sense into him at that point.
Don't make me do this. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Please.
What an emergency?
He just shot the guy. I'm at. The police officer just shot him.
I didn't want her to see me upset, but I panicked.
Oh, my God.
Okay, honey, calm down.
I was in kind of a state of shock. I could see that I'd wounded him mortally, and I was angry that he forced me to do something I didn't want to do.
More police came, and Scott was just laying there. I felt alone because I had all strangers in my yard.
The Wolcott Volunteer Ambulance Service responded, including EMT Jimmy Roy.
I didn't know that there had been a shooting until we arrived, and I only saw one person at first laying in the driveway. It was evident that he wasn't alive. And then there was a cop on the other side of the driveway screaming for me to come over and help him.
I got a bad neck wound here.
It seemed to be she was bleeding quite badly. The towel was pretty full of blood. She needed to be rushed to the hospital immediately.
Okay, John, it's all right, John. Relax. It's gonna be all right. Relax. You're on the way. You're on the way.
She was very nervous, very worried that she was going to die. So I tried to calm her down as best I could. In the beginning, I thought it was just going to be another routine call, but it turned out to be probably one that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
The victim, Joan, was transported to St. Mary's Hospital and examined by surgeon Victor Gotay.
She had 10 different wounds. I couldn't believe that she was alive. It's like a miracle. I think any of the 4 wounds in her neck could have cut the main vessel to the head and caused her to exsanguinate right where she was stabbed. Just one of them, and she had 4.
Thank you.
Joan's mother, Marie Santucci, was notified of the attack.
I just couldn't believe this had happened to her. I felt something was coming, but I didn't realize it would be this bad.
How's she doing?
It's like any relationship, you have good times and bad. As the months went on, we had more bad than good.
She used to try to keep a lot of it from me, and I just didn't ask her because she didn't want to tell me.
Director of the Women's Shelter, Peggy Panagrossi, finds the pattern of Joan's story all too common.
Most battered women minimize or deny the abuse. The abuser almost always apologizes and says, "I'm sorry, I will never do it again." And women really want to believe that promise. But unfortunately, most battered women have to do something for themselves because the batterer is not going to change first.
We would argue, we'd fight, he'd scream, holler. But I never thought in my heart that he could come to the point where he would do something so terrible to me.
Kathy's emotional wounds have also been slow to heal.
I wouldn't go out anymore. I just stayed close to home. And it was about 2 months later that I had to call her.
She wanted to speak with me, to make sure I was okay.
We talked for hours. We just sat there and cried and talked. They don't really talk about it.
She was the one who saved me. And for that, I'm eternally grateful to her. Now we've bonded, two strangers that will share something for the rest of our lives. Can't deny that. There will always be a bond between us.
Next.
I thought maybe something was obstructing her throat. The only thing I remember her doing is taking one deep breath in, and she just stopped.
On July 29, 1988, Mary Beezer and 38-year-old Diane Venegoni went to meet a group of friends, including Mary's sister, Irene, at a popular dance club in St. Louis.
It's the first time Diane had ever met my sister or any of the other people at the table. And all I had to do was introduce Diane to them. And, I mean, Diane's so easy to talk to. She sat down with my sister and just started jabbering.
Diane was a very fun-loving, easygoing sort of person. She enjoyed herself. I noticed nothing that would have given me any indication that she had any kind of a problem.
We were just having a real good time. Everybody was up off the table, and she just started really getting into it. Well, she said, man, I'm having a great time. So it was like she didn't realize what she was up for when she went there.
We're going to take a brief intermission to listen to Butch Wax in the Hollywoods. Thank you.
I went to talk to her, and her head was bobbing, and I said, Diane, are you okay? She didn't answer me. So I kind of leaned over, and I said, Diane, are you okay? And I was shaking her shoulder, and her eyes were like half closed, and then I knew something was wrong.
I thought maybe something was obstructing her throat, and her face was kind of clenched, jaws were all tight. The only thing I remember her doing is taking one deep breath in, and she just stopped.
I thought maybe she was hyperventilating. I got on one side of Diane, and Irene got on the other, and we were both trying to feel for pulses, and we couldn't feel them.
And I do have training in CPR. And I was thinking to myself, do I remember enough CPR to be able to save somebody's life?
Someone ran to ask the band to make an announcement for help. The singer, Carol Rowley, responded.
She looked bad. She was a little cyanotic around the mouth. I reached for her wrist for a radial pulse, and it was really rapid and weak. I heard her heart rate. It was very irregular. And then it just stopped, dead, cold. There was nothing.
Listen up, can I have your attention, please? This is important. We have an emergency. We need a doctor or a nurse.
Dr. Steve McNally was in the crowd that night.
I walked across the ballroom, and that's where I saw Diane laying on the floor, unresponsive. Went up and checked the pulse in her arm and didn't feel a pulse. And at the same time, there was a nurse there, and at that point, we began CPR.
At 9:29 p.m., an employee of the club called 911. The nearest available ambulance was on the other side of the city. Paramedic John Figline and his partner responded immediately.
Meg 2, respond to a 342.
It's a busy Saturday night, and the ambulances that were near the Casa Loma Ballroom were on other assignments, so we were the closest, even though we were 6 miles away.
It was getting pretty frightening for me because I'm thinking, oh no, she's so young. You know, this could be me.
They were doing the CPR, but you could still see that her face was turning purple. I'm like going, oh my God, you know, this can't be happening. I mean, it feels like you're losing a sister.
There was another woman came up and knelt beside me and said that she was a nurse at St. John's Hospital. Would I need some assistance? And I said, yes, please, because it wears you out. I was really running low on energy.
Breathe, keep going. Don't stop.
Sandy Curlis joined Carol in two-person CPR.
I knew we had to do CPR, but I already felt that she was already dead. There was no response at all. She was completely lifeless. The time frame seemed like a long time. I just started feeling in a panic, and we had absolutely not even a blink of an eye response at all, no movement whatsoever. And it's my experience that it just never takes that long. You either get a response or it's, you know, you stop CPR. I mean, you can only do that so long.
We would intermittently stop to be checked to see if there was a pulse, to see if there were respirations, and at no time did we ever have a response of any kind.
We were all like talking to her and telling her not to be afraid, to go on ahead and breathe, and you can do it, and you can do it. And I kept saying, Diane, you're not going to die on me, you're going to breathe.
Once you start CPR, you can't stop, but you start to feel a little bit of panic because you know that the probability of brain damage is very acute at this point.
I mean, you're thinking that you're going to wake up and she's going to be okay. And all I could do is just say a prayer.
By the time paramedics arrived, almost 20 minutes had passed since Diane Venegoni's heart stopped beating.
The patient, when we arrived, was unresponsive. She was basically had died. Her heart had stopped.
Got the cardiac monitor out. My partner did a quick look with the paddles and had the ventricular fibrillation rhythm, which is heart's really not putting out any kind of electrical activity. It's not doing anything. And then we deliver a defibrillation and shock the heart, try and reestablish the electrical pathway.
Normally, you defibrillate them once, and if they're going to come out, they're going to come out right away.
The fibrillation did not work. There was no response.
The next thing in your mind has to be, okay, that didn't work, what do I do next? Check a pulse, check the monitor, continue CPR, and give another shock.
The age she's at, her late 30s, I figured, boy, one jolt is going to bring her around. And that was scary because she didn't jump right to like that.
Don't give up now, come on. Clear. Okay, I'm getting a pulse. Getting a pulse here.
We defibrillated her 3 times before we got a rhythm back.
We established an IV line, got the patient intubated so that we could use a mask, and administered some cardiac medications to ensure that the rhythm would not reconvert to the original rhythm we had had.
When she got a heart rate showing on the scanner, that's when I was relieved because I knew that there was at least hope.
Diane was rushed to Lutheran Hospital. Dr. Randy Johnson was on call.
Diane apparently underwent sudden death. Her neurologic function, when she came in, was minimal. Her neurologic function would hopefully come back. A great deal of people it doesn't. It's basically God's will and time.
For 6 days, Diane lay in a coma. Her mother, Helen, kept a constant vigil at her bedside.
Diane was very important to me because that's all the family I have left. I had to rely on the doctors that were there, the hospital personnel, faith, hope, and prayers.
Mary never lost hope that her friend would come out of the coma.
I said, look over here. And she looked over at me, and I took her hand, and I said, Diane, squeeze my hands, squeeze my fingers. And she did. I mean, it was real light, but she squeezed them. And she kind of looked up at me, and we both, she had a big tear in her eye. And then I knew that everything was going to be A-okay. It would just take time.
In the months following the incident, Diane has made a full recovery from her sudden death attack. She now wears a special defibrillator implant that monitors and corrects heart irregularities.
I really don't remember exactly what happened. I don't remember anything about the day. But the amazing thing about it is that I don't have any side effects from it. You know, I mean, there is no loss of motor skills, no loss of anything. It's truly a blessing.
Diane was extremely lucky that she had a witnessed sudden death, and people were available that knew how to perform appropriate cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
The American Red Cross has a course. It takes an hour to learn it, and it's well worth your time. If you only use it once in your lifetime, that's enough.
Diane has since gotten married. Both she and her husband are grateful to the people who gave her a second chance at life.
They responded to my needs without hesitation. They will be carried in my heart and my thoughts and my prayers for the rest of my life.
Step out of the car, please.